remember the Brady Bunch had a similar configuration. Tonight's talk is going to have three parts. The first one requires your participation. The second one requires your participation. And the third one requires your participation. So if you would like to participate, please make sure that you come on video so we can see you. If you don't wish to, that's fine. Now, if you look at this, one of the things you see automatically is B-I-N-G-O. So it's a bingo board, right? Now it's B-I-N-G. So I thought it might be helpful to get to know each other a little bit better if we played Sangaku. So Sangaku is played exactly like bingo, except it is for Sangha members only. So you have to have 4 across, 4 up, and so forth and so on. You understand, right? Everybody raise their hand if they understand. Some people don't understand, obviously. If you understand, raise your hand. Go ahead. Kushin, go ahead. All right, good job. Good job, Sharon. Thank you. All right, so let's start off with something very easy. So what we'll do is you raise your hand when I ask the question if that fits you. All right, ready? Anybody not ready? All right. Now, what you want to do is if you see bingo in any of these forms, you immediately want to press your mute button and yell bingo. All right, good, got it. All right, raise your hand if you're left-handed. All right, so we got 2 left hands. All right, keep your hands up, please. Thank you. All right, now, second question. Raise your hand if you are right-handed. Bingo.
Bingo.
Oh, I beat you. I won. All right, now, so you got it, right? Now, here we go again. Raise your hand if you were born in Illinois. Teshian doesn't quite know where he was born. He's shaking it off. So you need to watch your fellow Sangha members here as they try to remember things. So Sensei's got his hand up in kind of a Vulcan-like sign indicating, and also Zenku. All right, now, how many of you were born, keep your hands up, in a state, keep your hands up, Zenku, in a state that neighbors Illinois? A little bit more complicated. Up, 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 up. How many of you were born in New York State? Keep your hands up. All right. How many of you were born in Georgia? How many of you were born in another state? Raise your hand.
Bingo.
All right. By golly, you guys are quick. By golly, you're quick. All right. Now, this one's going to require a little bit more involvement. So unmute yourself. All right. Everybody unmuted? See some mute still? If you don't want to play, that's fine. So what I'd like you to do is try to carry on a conversation with someone so the other person that you're conversing with understands what you're saying and they talk back to you.
What's going on in the barbecue? Yeah, what's going on in the barbecue state of?
We have some
Memphis. I see that cup. Yes.
Good to see you, Mary Lou.
All right, notice what happened here. All of you jumped immediately into saying something rather than thinking about, well, is there a way of doing it? For example, who is the person to your right? If you're on the far left, then who's the person on your far right? Who's the person on your far left? So one way might be to say, Bill Cooper, how are you doing?
Good, and you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Are you next to me or am I just
It varies.
imagining that? I
Nice
didn't
screen.
ask you, Paul. Paul, I'm talking up here with Bill. So Bill, I'm talking to you. How's everything in Washington?
It's a nice sunny afternoon. Beautiful.
So you ready to play another round?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Did you get bingo yet?
Huh?
Have you gotten bingo yet tonight?
No, just choose somebody else.
All right. So this will be your time. This is your time. All right. Now, this is a question about one of the 10 speakers who's spoken since Tuesday. This question is, this speaker was born in a state that has the distinction of being the state that has the most states as its border. What state is that?
Kansas.
Kushin.
Paranoia.
Kansas.
No. Nice try, though. Are you from Kansas? Why did you say Kansas?
Because that was one of our speakers and it's surrounded by states.
Ah, boy, you're right on the ball. Good. But there's one more, and I don't know if that person knows the answer to that question. Anybody know? Fusatsu, where were you born?
Big KY.
Kentucky. Kentucky is the state that has the most.
I was thinking that. I was just like,
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was.
All right, all right. So, Paul?
With all due respect, Sensei, Kentucky is a commonwealth, not a state. So I thought maybe you were doing a trick question. Kentucky is not a state. It's a commonwealth. So I thought you were doing a trick question.
I'm the winner.
I see. Okay. How many commonwealths are there?
4.
And they are?
Massachusetts, Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania.
Chicago!
And which of those are you from?
Virginia, but I'm a political scientist. So.
All right. See what you find out when you ask people in the Sangha about what's going on. So let's do one more. How many of you were not born in Canada or the United States? Someplace else. Okay, Sharon. Keep your hand up. How many of you were born in Canada? How many of you were born in a territory of the United States? Wow, this is a tough one.
Right, no.
Oh,
Oh,
France.
weird.
France is a territory? When did that happen to?
No.
All right.
Well, they used to own some land.
That's it. Well, didn't we pay for that? Didn't we buy them out or something?
I think that was Greenland.
Oh, Greenland.
The
Okay.
Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right. So this is how we're going to end this segment. And I want you and each of your turns, and we've done this before, by the way, this is part of what we call the no talent show that we would do in person. So this is how it's going to work. I know who's going to speak, so I want each of you in turn to tell us your nickname as a child. Each of you in turn. Bill,
Billy.
you start, then anybody else comes next.
Mine was Billy.
Oh, that's it? All right, Billy. Good, good. Tessan, you were lighted up.
Yeah, no, just Stewie.
Stewie. Billy Stewie. Stewie Billy. Good, all right. Usatsu.
Rabbit.
Rabbit?
Rabbit.
Rabbit. All right.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, that's very close. Billy can see it. Everybody can. Stewie can see it. Binku.
Magoo.
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 Jackie, Jekyll.
Magoo. Okay, Kuasan.
Annie the Pooh.
What?
Annie the Pooh. Oh,
Cute. Okay. I hope somebody's writing this down. This is being recorded, right? All right. Julie.
didn't have a nickname.
No name, no nickname. Okay.
We got to give her one. We got to give her
All right,
one.
we'll get her one at the end. Sharon.
I never had a nickname either.
Two of you. All right.
We'll have
Amy.
to give them nicknames.
We'll get them. Amy.
Toughness.
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 Wow, I like that.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Sheen,
I
beat
cried
that
a lot.
one, Sheen. Can you beat that one,
Oh, you can't even see her.
Sheen?
Jiminy Cricket.
So see that. Yeah.
My. All right, pretty good. Cousets.
No nickname, just Randy.
Randy, all right, by God. And Nancy.
Nanny.
Nanny. Okay.
What was
I'm
her
going to go
name?
down. I just have the feeling,
It's really-
Sankey, that you had one heck of a nickname. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be the winner. Go ahead.
You're on
You're
mute.
muted. You're muted.
No.
It wasn't muted,
Oh.
but it's
Go ahead.
not.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Why-
Okay,
you might have
you're,
to type it
you're
into the
muted.
chat.
You're muted. You spell it out on a piece of paper and hold it up for
He's got some support.
us. Bill,
For his wrist. Yeah, something like that.
Bill Mayhew.
Billy.
Billy, all right. There's a lot of Billies. Walter.
I didn't have the nickname.
All right, Walter, we'll give you one too. Sensei's going to make up nicknames for all of you. So that'll be what he. Okay, Junko, I can hardly wait. Junko, what was your nickname?
I didn't have one.
Oh.
I did not have one.
I think your nickname was Beautiful. That's a nickname for you. Ikuse.
They occasionally referred to me as Sarah Bernhardt, but that wasn't a real nickname.
Robert, Bob, Joji.
Chuck.
Chuck. Boy, oh boy.
Middle name's
Who have I
Charles.
left out? All right, we'll take it. We'll take it. Who have I left out? Raise your hand. Oh, Sensei, how could I have left you out? What was your nickname?
I've been left out a lot. I had two because I was named after a Mickey. My name was Michael, and they called me Mouse.
Mouse, good.
Mouse, and another one was Professor. In grade
Mouse.
school, middle school, I was called Professor because I was so professorial.
Carried your briefcase with you to first grade. I can see that. I can see that.
You can't get
All right, so
Shikaku over there.
Where? Shikaku? Go ahead. Paul, go ahead.
Paco, P-A-C-O, because
Paco.
I was Spanish in an area that was pretty white.
Ah, okay. All right. Now, what you have is a new Dharma name, a new nickname. So all of us, we're going to remember every one of your nicknames, and we'll make up ones if you don't have it. I guess I'll tell you mine. Goober. Goober. Not because of the guy on Andy Griffith's show, but because I love to eat roasted peanuts at basketball games. I was the record holder for the number of packets of goobers that I ate. So that's what I had to go through. So what has happened here is the first time we've heard from most everyone in one time. As we look around, we see a lot of different people, some of whom we know and some of whom we don't. Sharon's accent threw me a little bit. I want to say England, but I may be wrong.
South Africa.
South Africa. I was wrong. So one of the interesting things when we talk about taking refuge is, of course, what is the human component of that? So to answer that question, we'll now go to the next activity. So you can leave your mics on. All right, can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Good. All right. What do you see?
A man in a tree.
A good-looking man in a tree, you said, Zenku?
Something like that, yes.
Okay, my ears, you know. A man in a tree.
That's one of my favorite street signs, men in trees.
Men in tree. All right. Oh, I'm going to do you one better in a moment. So what else do you see?
Flowers.
What kind of tree is it?
Cherry tree?
Cherry.
No.
Dogwood?
It's an ornamental pear.
It's a big tree.
In Palo Alto, California, that has to be cropped every year from the top before it takes over the entire yard. It is my sister-in-law's tree. Now, what do you see here?
Branches.
Man, meditating.
All right. Well, what we see here is an interesting shot of no flowers. Yeah, how did that happen? Well, it was two different times.
Also, we see the Maitreya posture.
Yes, we do. Very seldom seen this side of the coast. Notice, does the person have glasses on or not?
Yes.
Glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In one picture.
Yeah. All right. So what there, I'm going to paraphrase Buddha. There's something about a tree. There's something about a tree, isn't there? Now, if you look at this picture, you see it embracing the person sitting there. You see it as a nice place of repose. Actually, my memory is it was rather comfortable. So I thought, well, I did the Buddha one step better. I sat in the tree rather than under the tree. I don't think it had any significant impact, but at least it's something to say.
How did you get in the tree?
I climbed up. It's not that far off the ground.
Okay.
It just looks like it. I was more nimble back 4 years ago.
A tree's embrace may be reluctant.
Ooh.
Yes, but it knows when it has a good sitter. All right, now, next one. Now, imagine that we were goats and the tree was our refuge. Now, this is a Photoshop, but I couldn't find any of people from a Sangha sitting in a tree. So I had to go with what I could find. So what we have here is a representation of a Sangha. So the tree as a vessel, the tree as home base, the tree as a place of gathering. So there you have Sangha in a different interpretation. Now, one of my favorites. I want to hear from some other folks. Amy, what do you see?
I see curly hair, a dog, and a donkey.
Okay, what is the dog looking at?
Something to the left. I don't know.
Sharon, you know?
No.
Ikusei.
No, I don't know.
Dinku.
It's the tree.
Well, the dog is looking at the goats in the tree. See, they're over there. They're over there from where he's sitting. The other thing is interesting in that they are very quiet and still. So you would say that this is an interesting Sangha, isn't it? Well, they all have, what?
The donkey and the little girl looks like have no interest in the goats in the tree, only the dog.
I know. The dog is probably getting hungry or thirsty. So here we have an additional view. What do you see there?
Oh my gosh.
My God.
Oh.
The photographer's holding a treat.
That's not your God, that's your
Photographer
dog. G-O-G, not G-O-D.
And they all have what?
Tongues.
Tongues.
What? Tongues.
Tongues.
Put it in a Buddhist context.
Miles.
Open mouth.
That's almost correct. Almost perfect.
Breathing in and out.
Well, obviously they all have Buddha nature, right?
They're all sitting.
They all have Buddha nature. They're all sitting. They are, I think what they're doing, Sensei, is waiting to get into the Atlanta Soto Zen Center once you open.
None of them have Buddha nature. They are all Buddha nature. They are Buddha nature.
All Buddha nature. They are Buddha nature. They're a collection of Buddha nature, a crowd. a gang, a Sangha of Buddha nature. So I particularly like the one next to the black dog with the long tongue to that dog's right, because that looks like my dog. I also like the small one up front with the white and the down on the chest.
Tuxedo.
There are 3 of those. Oh,
So what do you
before we
think?
go on, how many dogs were there? Don't go back. How many dogs? No, don't go back. Don't go back. Don't go back. How many dogs were there? Don't go back. How many dogs were there?
Well, you counted them, Sensei.
22.
22. 18.
Oh, okay.
Close.
There are 2 types of people when they look at a presentation. One looks for misspelled words, the other counts to make sure that the numbers are correct. This is my favorite. So what do you see there? Let's get some other responses. I'm going to.
Photoshopped for sure.
I don't know.
I don't know, Julie. I don't know.
That could be a otter herding dog.
I think of this as the practice leader in the Sangha when a new member comes in. A new member walks into the Sangha, the practice leader is quite excited, and the other guys are looking around to see what's going on. So that could be kind of a watery Sangha. Now we have to get something in here.
Wait a minute. How many of them were there? How many otters?
All of them. All of them were there. All otters were there.
Okay, I'll stop.
What I see here is something you should grasp fairly quickly as a Sangha. But what I want you to do is not to read what Dogen said, but to look at the print.
Yeah.
What is the print saying?
Reflection.
So the image in the water is reflecting to the tree on the land? Or is the tree on the land reflecting itself in the water? Another tree.
Wow.
This tree is an interesting one because it's one that I designed a few years back to try to demonstrate our Sangha and what we did. What we did and when we did it and the interrelationship of it. It was a fun thing to do. I've learned one thing from Hojo, and that is, look at different ways to skin a Zen cat, or look at different ways in which you can try to present this wonderful thing called the Dharma in a variety of different ways. It was very fun to do. It's outdated, of course, but the symmetry is what I wanted to suggest. I also wanted to suggest that when we look at a tree, there's a wonderful book called The Mysterious Life of Trees by, I think it's Morris Butterfield. And he talks about it is not on top of the ground that a tree exists, it's below ground. That the below ground is the life. The above ground is simply the monument. Although there's life up there as well, the real interesting stuff is a communication going on underneath. My second favorite. Now, what is that?
Dharma in motion.
Okay. I'll give you a B+ for that.
It's a reflection.
Reflection. Go ahead.
It's the end of a 3-day sit.
It is. It's what you look at after a 3-day session. That was taken on a lake. You can see behind there, members of the Falmasoda Zen Sangha. And here we are being regaled by looking at ourselves in a mirror and taking a picture of the reflection of ourselves in the mirror. And what this reminds me of is an illusion of delusion. So I find that to be quite intriguing. Well, if we put all this together, what do we come up with? Wow, that's where we started, wasn't it? These are not anyone you know. This is a picture off the internet. But as we look at that, doesn't it suggest to us kind of a lineage or the idea of what is the life of all these people? Why are they here? What are they doing? What are they participating in? That is the Sangha. That is the question we ask ourselves. And we've asked ourselves in various ways all this week so far, and we'll continue to do it through 6 or 8 speakers tomorrow and at least 6 on Sunday. So this particular thing that we're coming into, this Zoom experience, is yet another drawing of a tree or another expression of umpaya when you try to explain the Dharma. It is simply a new form. It is not the form that we're interested in, but the energy, the emptiness that produces the energy. There are a lot of ways that we say what we do. Here's a pictorial representation of that. Our prime purpose in this life is to help others, and if you can help them, at least don't hurt them. So we began with humor in our Sango exercise, continued that, looked at different representations of life through our own eyes, and gained a sense of at least some of us who were interested in participating in this event. It is the participation, by the way, that is the Sangha. So we're now at Mokurai, Silent Thunder Order. So let me get out of this and I'll pop up on the screen and go back to speaker view and talk to you a little bit about Sangha as refuge. We can always look up refuge and we see a variety of meanings, but I want to take you back to the tree. When I was a child, we moved to a house next to a dairy farm, and in this dairy farm, there were cows in the pasture, but there's also a big oak tree in one part of the pasture. And I found myself pulled to that oak tree. The pasture also had a bull in it, by the way. So I would sneak through the fence and make a mad dash and get in that oak tree. I don't know exactly why. I don't think it was a thrill of being chased by a bull, but it was rather climbing up in the tree and having an experience. It was experiential, that I recall. Just the thisness of it. So that stayed with me and is one of the themes I'd like to expand on. So that sense of calling, finding, being engaged with. I also want to put forth the fact that when we talk about refuge, we do not talk about it in the real sense that refuge is defined, and that is a place for comfort, a place to remove oneself from the slings and arrows. That can be seen when we look at, for example, a lighthouse. A lighthouse is not beckoning, it is pushing one away. So we don't see a lighthouse as something that draws us, but something that pushes us away. We learn that the lighthouse has close to it some refuge, some safe harbor. But the first thing we notice is that we see ourselves in a dangerous situation. Something is flashing and we find a way. When the light is not flashing, there's a foghorn. The Nopska Lighthouse is close to where I live here on Cape Cod. And the light and the sound of the foghorn have a sense of reassurance, a sense of all rightness. Another particular thing that interests me some when I was much younger was the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Here, the phraseology was sanctuary. If you recall, the Hunchback saved this woman and brought her into the church. And the idea of sanctuary A sanctuary is not that unusual in a variety of different religions. In certain aspects in Pakistan, there's been stories about basically people fighting the Americans who had this particular value of if a person was hurt on their property, they had the responsibility to save their life, to take care of them. Notice these things that I'm talking about, all of which seem pretty good. Nice thing to know. But how do we then use all of these examples and pull them together in the context of Sangha as refuge? I'd like to begin that journey with the supposed comments that Sakyamuni Buddha said to Ananda shortly before the Buddha died. And the legend is that, Ananda asked Sakyamuni Buddha, how important is the Sangha? Pretty straightforward question. And the answer supposedly was, it is everything. We take vows to be in refuge. We take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. We even say we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha 3 times. First time, second time, third time. So this vow is about what? If we think of refuge not as a place, but something that has caught our attention to the degree that it is of meaning to us, deep meaning to us, then we're getting closer, I think, to what Sakyamuni Buddha told Ananda. In looking at our lineage, when we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just as those who came before us did, we might say that we're taking refuge in them as teachers of the Dharma. So let me suggest to you that refuge actually is this internal experience that guides us. And it has come to us through the years in a very important way. The life of one person, there are many people who had exemplary lives. The teachings of one person, that too has occurred. The third is the followers or the congregation or the Sangha that keeps that alive. So let's go back to the statement, the Sangha is everything. We may live a life that is exemplary. By that I mean others would agree that it's an okay life. We might go up into the hills, segregate ourselves from humanity. We might try to teach this. But without the third element, without the Sangha, it cannot be continued. So I offer to you, in somewhat my closing and opening it up for conversation, I think what Sakyamuni Buddha was saying is, it is everything in this regard. The exemplary life, as a result of that, certain things became known, felt, sensed, feeling of it being significant enough to teach. Even in 100,000 million kalpas, people gained that information, had a similar kind of internal experience. And that dyad, these two people had heart-to-heart transmission. Then another. And as this collective grew, it had all of these opportunities to move out and to extend this Dharma through creating other communities or sanghas. Martin Luther King Jr. referred to this as the beloved community. So the Sangha is everything because it includes Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I would offer that Buddha by himself, Dharma by itself, without Sangha is not everything. So another way of saying that is that all of us here tonight are experiencing the everything. We've read the Buddha story. We've been involved with teachings. We went from one Sangha to another, possibly, trying to find this connection. If indeed it is the light within us that is our awakening to our own inner self, that's important, then we get to the last thing that Buddha said to Ananda. Be a light unto yourself. This being a light unto yourself means that you have come to the realization that you are your own refuge by your experience and sensitivity to life. So I think Sangha is everything. As we experience it in whatever form it may come up, in whatever time we have, it is still the same point. It is through this concept of refuge that we find each other, showing each other the way, and as Hojo said, teaching each other the Dharma that cannot be done without Sangha.
Hojo Sensei.
Yeah, I just had one quick thing to say about that. Matsuoka Roshi used to say, we teach each other Buddhism. And I'm pushing 80, so I'm about Buddha's age right now. And Ananda, I think, was considerably younger. He was a cousin, first cousin or something like that.
I think so.
But if you look at the recording of the history, that Ananda stuck with him all through that time. Ananda hung in there. And so this relationship between Shakyamuni and Ananda represented at large what we call Sangha. Sangha is based on dyads, dyads of one person and another person. We call our community the collaborative community. And we encourage everybody to collaborate one with another, each, one to another. And the history of Zen has been like this, that the Dharma students and Dharma brothers, Dharma sisters, uncles, aunts, in-laws have basically functioned on a one-to-one relationship. And so when we think of family, Dharma family, maybe it's too big a picture. We want to reduce it down to this one-to-one relationship that we can have. Brian Price's name, Dharma name, is Chishiki. Chishiki is the Japanese or Sino-Japanese version of Kalyana Mitra. Kalyana Mitra means a good friend, a good friend that you have in the Sangha. And a good friend, Kalyana Mitra or Chishiki in the Sangha, is somebody who is interested in your apprehension of the Buddha Dharma. And that's the fundamental basis of their relationship to you. So anyway, that was just a capping comment on that.
For sure. I think this creates the functional aspect that Sanki was talking about in terms of bodhisattva the other night. It is this ability to connect on a level that creates a new meaning and expands it for both parties. And I would suggest that in a gathering of more than two in our sanghas, that we have this occurring. I'd also suggest that there is a tendency, and this again is my statement, there's a tendency sometimes to look at Buddha and Dharma more than Sangha. So a little bit of a twist on this is, look at all of the things that have happened in these few days. I, for example, found that I was inadequate to do the morning service this morning. And I could have sulked off and read about it, or I could have done a number of things, but I asked a Dharma brother if they would help me. Harmonious community, I think, is saying this. This is what we do. We help each other, as Sensei said, as Sojo said, to teach, to learn, to share the Dharma. The number of people behind the scenes working on what you are seeing is as many as the people out front. The tree analogy. The Sangha is much deeper than we perceive until we come to the understanding that it too is all there is. That's what it is.
Yeah, our bench is pretty deep. We have a pretty good bench.
And some up in the stands.
Catcher, you, Bill Cooper?
Yeah, in thinking about Ananda, Sangaku, you reminded me, it's a slightly different point, but that in the Pali Suttas, Ananda does not become enlightened during the Buddha's lifetime. So he continued probably, to rely on the Sangha and other teachers and elders while he continued to practice after the Buddha's death.
I think that, and just a very quick response, is a true bodhisattva. So I think it was only after this relationship, this meaningful relationship was no more, that it opened space for something else to occur. One could argue that it probably could not have occurred if he had not had that experience with his nephew or uncle. So point well taken, Gasho.
Cosette.
Anybody else?
So this calls to mind for me all the passages, and I can't think of one in particular. It's just, you see it repeatedly, where the importance of a true Dharma friend is mentioned. And in fact, in a recent poem I wrote, that was the theme of the poem. And that is the basis for one by one, as you were alluding to, one by one, those relationships form the broader community, but it has to start individually.
I often say the most important thing in life is a meaningful conversation with a very good friend.
Yeah. Sensei Zenku?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say a couple things. I think Ananda, I think we've been saying the same thing, but I think Ananda was so dependent on the Buddha. This is kind of my interpretation, that he relied on the Buddha's wisdom and didn't cultivate that rely on yourself, the light within you, that the Buddha finally gave him that message. The other thing about Sangha that I just really feel is appropriate is that Sangha, at atonement, that's one thing, but taking refuge to me is being one with. If I truly take refuge in something, I don't have any difference between me and it. I'm at one with it. And so I always think of Sangha in the grandest, in the largest sense, the unity of all things, interdependence of all things. And so this sense of this is the most important thing. If we don't recognize our oneness with everything, no cliche intended, but this is the fundamental point. I think once we wake up to that, then this is maybe partly what Buddha had in mind when he said, "This is everything."
I think sometimes when I chant, I say Buddha Dharma Sangha, like it's all one thing. And even we say that do not differentiate the three. Do not think of them as three. Think of them as one, as you were saying. But pushing a little bit more on my point of within this thing that we call the Silent Thunder Order, within our sanghas, within this beloved communities, we are constantly reaching out and offering. And I think this is what the Communications Committee was talking about. This is what we say when we simply shine. We simply do what we do. And as a result of that, people see that they can avoid this and possibly find a way to have something of which they think we are demonstrating. So I think this is the wonderful aspect of it. Mm-hmm. A Sangha, as opposed to an individual, Buddha developed a Sangha so quickly, that we forget about that. But I think that is where we are in today's time. For us going on Zoom, we reached into the needs of the Sangha, of the individual more. We took it to them and they could come in this configuration, whereas before it was not as easy to do. So it is, I think, a very interesting thing for us to comprehend in our looking forward. Husatsu?
Yeah, Sensei, I just again wanted to thank you for your teaching on this, because for me, the Sangha, the third jewel, is where it's at. It's always been for me like the place where the juices are flowing. You get the teaching, and then you have the example of the teacher, and now you get to work with kind of bumping your head up against things. If I tell Shikak all the time, like, I need you to keep me on the straight and narrow here. I mean, it's where we learn to work with the stuff that we are learning. So I mean, I have such a great place in my heart for the Sangha, and not only the local Sangha, but the extended Sangha, as COVID has given us the gift of being able to be together in ways we didn't think that we could be together before. So thank you so much for, extending the limbs of the tree, throughout the Silent Thunder Order. So Gasho, thank you for your teaching, sir.
How are we doing on time?
You got like 4 more minutes.
4 more minutes, okay. I think we do have an opportunity to look at the depth and breadth of this thing called the Silent Thunder Order Network, as you've been describing. And since I has talked about this, he and I have talked about it in the past as well, but the point being that it is going to develop, and how it develops is going to be in a form quite different than how it was. We're already seeing that. As Zenku pointed out today, we have to look deeply into what happens next, because it is not going to be what happened before. it is something I think that will be quite different. So one of the things that I find most important is what we seem to be doing is spending more time with each other and sharing the Dharma in a meaningful way. We could hear that in talks, people talking about these things that are so essential, so meaningful in life. And we all came back to that in the context of our practice, of what we feel is important to ourselves and to others, and how we want to share that. So I think that's true Sangha. Do you see any hands up from anybody in the Falmouth Soto Zen Sangha other than?
Come on, Falmouth Soto Zen. I know you're out there. Ikusei, you don't have.
I'm starting to wonder what distinguishes the development of the Sangha throughout the hundreds of years of Buddhism from other religions. You know, all these leaders would gather people around them. And then if they continue, there would still be groups around them. They would build churches and identify with each other as a certain type of group with following a certain creed or dogma. So I'm trying to figure out how is our concept of Sangha, how is it different from the development of other religions?
Just a quick comment on I believe it's still on the outside of the Atlanta Soto Zen Center, a Dogen phrase, and I'm paraphrasing Dogen's phrase. Those who enter are welcome, those who leave are not chased after.
Right.
We are an open hand in the sense that we simply present ourselves and see what happens. For example, we say, when I decided to come to Falmouth, I just decided I needed a place to sit, and I was going to tell people I'm sitting here if you want to come and join me. And so people came to say, what do you mean sit? What is this? So it's this kind of thing. And for those of us who've gone from one maybe religious path to another or looked at different combinations, I think that's would be a very good discussion. Why this, why now? And all of us have our own stories, which we've been sharing. But I don't think that the demands are not there. The other thing, from my perspective, growing up with Pentecostal holiness, it is so different and so much more, if you will, satisfying in meeting my sense of importance, of meaning. And that's what we offer. Some stay, some don't. Kasha.
Yep. And Sensei, I'm doing a time check here. Are there any last words of wisdom that you have for the group to close out our discussion before we move into our next phase and do the Dharma closing verse?
Yes. Sensei, which sensei?
Oh, well, I forgot. We have like 6 on the call.
Hojo.
You don't get off that easy. It's you. It's about you.
Remember, you can also be plural.
Yes.
So I am very glad to be a member of the Silent Thunder Order. That's my last thought.
All right. We will take that and we'll move into our, again, thank you, Sensei, for your teaching tonight. We'll transition into our next set of Zazen with our closing Dharma verse. And Sensei Sangaku, are you okay to lead us in that?
Yes.
All right. We're ready when you are, sir.
Beings are numberless.
8:00 p.m.
I vow to free them. Illusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it.
Gasho, everyone. We will transition into our next zazen. So, Sensei, do you want to take let them take 1 minute to get situated, stretch, and then?
I'm gonna start in 3 minutes. Let's take a 3-minute break.